Welcome back to LCS Academy, powered by Verizon. I'm Mazel, joined by Cubby and Magical. Still the ever super sleuth, still on the case, as always. But here we are after game number 1 of the day. And before we get to the conversation about what happened in that very chaotic, crazy first game, we got to have a little bit of fun. And since I haven't actually been on the broadcast with Cubby in a long time, he hasn't got to play this game. So we're going to play a little bit of Duos Lingo and see how your synergy is working out. See how your guys' levels are working. So for this one, Cubby and Magical, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you guys for one word, the first word that comes to mind when you think of the first game of the series. Now, you're going to say that word out loud when I tell you to. Hopefully, your synergy is on point, at least. And you guys say the same word. If so, then we end it. We talk about the series. No problem. No big deal. If you don't say the same word, then we're going to take both words that you say, and you're going to try to tie those two words together compared to the series. So, until we get the word and the brainwaves on the same length, you guys are stuck here with me. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a couple seconds. Think of the first word that comes to mind when you think of the first game of the series.
Got it.
All right, let's hear it. What are they?
Meech.
Poke.
Aw.
Meech and Poke. Okay, interesting. So Meech had some very crazy plays. The Poke definitely there from CLG's side as well. Now, what could possibly tie in Meech and Poke? I wonder. You guys have first word that comes to mind? Ready to go?
Yep.
I got one. Yeah.
All right. What do you got? What do you got? What's Meech and Poke? What ties it together?
Dragons.
Mine was carry.
Okay, well, we're going down a different road. So we got dragons and we got carry from Meech and Poke. So now you got to tie together dragons and carry for that first game that we just saw. What first word that comes to mind? Remember, you guys' synergy is on the line here. Gonna have a talk with Kelsey if things don't go well. So first word that comes to mind.
Soul.
Hextech.
Ah. Oh wait,
It's
no.
close.
We got this. We got this.
It's
Hextech
real
and
close.
Soul.
It's real close.
Hextech and Soul.
Okay, Cubby ain't sold, but you've got to come up with a word together that brings together Hextech and Soul. What could it possibly be? Do you guys have it?
Gates.
Brainwaves? Gates? What did you?
Lightning.
Don't change it.
I said
lightning. Oh no! You know,
it's the
I don't
Hextech
deserve to be
Soul.
Watson, guys.
It's
You don't
Hextech
deserve
Soul,
to be
not
Watson.
Hextech Rift.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll continue this as you know we're still talking about game number 1 a little bit to some extent. All right. So we had lightning and what was the other one?
Gates.
Gates. All right, lightning and gates. So this one should be pretty easy, right? Because you can't use words that you just used, but you can use previous words that weren't just used.
Yeah.
So this one should be easy. I don't know, guys. I'm questioning you guys' synergy.
No.
So,
I got it. So
lightning and gates.
Hextech. Yes, let's go.
Arcane
You did it.
reference,
I'm
yeah.
so proud of you. Yeah, Arcane in there. Heckin' love Jinx, Academy. No. Hey, at least it was easy on the end of it. But your guys' synergy is still a little bit in question. Duos Lingo was successful, though, and you guys were able to tie in a lot of words to
It's
the series that we
elementary,
just saw.
my dear Cubby.
It's
It would have been
elementary.
easy had we just focused on Meech to begin with.
I love that your magnifying glass is like
TSM think the same
disappearing.
thing.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
True. But I do want to go ahead and look back at that series a little bit, and especially break down some of the things that were successful for TSM Academy and maybe things that weren't so successful, and see where they can pull it back for game number 2. Because I think CLG Academy were winners because of great decision making in the moment, right, Cubby?
I think what worked for CLG is, again, Gangplank Corki into Azir Jinx is so tough to play on the side of TSM. TSM need to have, I think they need to be the ones pulling the trigger. Because if they wait for the poke and the zoning to connect, we saw fights where tactical was low, Takeover had to take disadvantageous engages or was forced out by Gangplank on the back half. And if TSM are not ahead and are not, taking the fights on their terms, I think it makes things that all the more harder for the Jinx and the Azir. And I think CLG Breezy Kevy deserve a lot of credit for that because they were just throwing themselves into the back line. And TSM didn't have the damage to deal with it.
No, and I got to give a lot of praise for why that's the case, too. It denied Anda from reliably diving into the backline. He struggled to get on top of Meech because not only did he have to get through Kevy, who was already engaging on top of him, but then he had to get through Breezy. No, he really had no good angle to get on top of Meech. Pretty much that entire fight, the last few fights you could see, he was trying. But he was so far away, and there was so much already done before he got to his destination that the fight was essentially lost.
Don't watch right now because it's a little handshake, I guess, between Meech and Tactical. Both of them just one by one giving up some very interesting plays. But all in all, you know, hey, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
don't watch. It's
not going with your team to take Dragon there is one that TSM are going to want back. As that again, these mistakes ended up and it gave CLG gold, and that was the big thing because as we move forward in the game, this being another one, you were 4v5 on map. You're going for a play for enemy blue buff without setting up mid wave. Why? When the other team has TP up. This is TSM just going way too aggressive. And I think it's some of just, you know, the lack of synergy with the roster. But again, these are players that have experience. And I expect better decisions coming out of that team than to opt into a 4v5 on the enemy side of the map when they have TPs up. That's really indefensible decision coming out from TSM. This one as well, this was a fight where it was a really good package. Mia has a grand entrance on the package. Takeover is forced out by Meech. And Tactical was already zoned out. Ate a solar flare from Breezy that was beautiful. Can never fight. And why are TSM taking that fight in the first place with Tactical already down half health? Just give it. It's fine. You can live the fight another day. Because again, if you aren't taking fights in your terms, when you have full health bars, you will face the brunt of CLG's comp. It's really tough. Look at this. Tactical is already half health from a Cannon Barrage plus a Wukong ultimate. He plays out the rest of this fight really well. But TSM, it's so unplayable for them because they weren't the ones finding the engages. They need to be the ones that are going first. And I want to see TSM take a little bit more of that onus, that proactivity into their hands for this next game.
I think for me it was a big spotlight on both Triple and Meech, but also how it was all bridged off of maybe some ebbs and flows of Kevy against Anda, and especially how it in this last fight for me, it was all about spacing, right? You could see the angle that Takeover was looking for. The follow-up for TSM, the focus not necessarily there, but like this is where Meech and Triple are absolute shining stars, Cubby.
That flash through the wall from Meech was so good. Takeover not finding him with the combo just throws away his own life, and then Meech cleans up from there.
It was also the fact that he flashed away from the call of the Forge God that was focused on him as opposed to focusing on the other three members. So it completely whiffed, flashes over the wall. He's still got distance when the Emperor Divide comes through, and so he's just pumping out damage.
The carry is looking good for CLG Academy, and some of that aggression that we were highlighting for TSM Academy coming back to bite them in some instances. I do want to go back to the main focus that we put at the beginning of this series, though, and looking at the jungle matchup and dissecting a little bit of how approach should change going to game 2, but especially what we saw from both these guys in their strengths and weaknesses in this first game between Kevy and Anda. Magical.
So I kind of want to take this and say I think that TSM did almost everything right in the beginning of the game. I don't think that they had very, very many problems until about 15 minutes. That's when we started seeing the mistakes. Tactical dying for no reason when he could have just gone to the Dragon with the team. I think they need to shore up those. They made these same mistakes against Cloud9 yesterday and got heavily punished for them. If they can fix those, these early games, they get them such gargantuan leads right off the bat that already sets up and puts behind someone like Kevy, who eventually just is like, you know what? The only way I'm going to be able to do anything is by throwing my body. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in, Cyclone. If I die, I die, but I've set up the team. And instead of playing his normal style, which is more to see if he can set up his solo lanes early into the game. Try to get them powerful. And thankfully, in that game, there was just a couple of weird, wild plays from both sides that allowed them to delay the game long enough. So they had this Corki Aphelios combo that just became brutal.
I think looking at like the matchups, especially like what we're seeing picked up for both these junglers is super important in terms of like comfort into game number 2 and for TSM Academy bouncing back, finding that proactivity maybe to some extent that can bridge them into the late game, Cubby, because obviously some of those slip ups and falls are execution based, but I feel like they can set themselves up a little bit better going in game 2.
I think Wukong is a good pick to call out as Kevy is 4-1, now 5-1 on the champion, and Anda has won
3-0.
3 games on Wukong in Academy. TSM have yet to win a game without Anda on Wukong, which doesn't really, it's not a hit on Anda. He played great in the last game, but Wukong does make team fighting very easy and is probably the most team fight centric pick in the jungle that we have in the current meta. So again, maybe TSM just want Wukong to make things a bit easier for them and appeal for some of the big backline carries that could draft elsewhere.
Cubby and Lennon, can I just teach you the ways of AP Wukong?
Super sleuth it. Super sleuth.
AP Wukong.
They,
I don't know if anybody's been coming to your agency.
Why not?
If you're repping AP Wukong,
You know what, Mazel?
Okay, AP Viego.
This is all a decoy.
Yes. Super sleuth. Is that okay.
You ever watch
I'm being
Columbo?
told to be
You ever
quiet.
watch Columbo?
No.
Yeah, actually I have.
Just one more thing.
Yes. Just one more thing. You got to deliver it.
well,
It's all about the diversion. It's all about being sweet and seeming like you don't got nothing in this brain, which I probably don't anyways. But then suddenly I say something smart and everyone's like, wow, what a big brain.
Yep. Hey, it's all under that wonderful cap there. I'm just wondering though, like, in terms of other lanes and in terms of looking at Takeover's response to that game one, and especially against Triple, who I believe, if I'm not mistaken, right, I at the last second I looked away to start getting stuff prepped, but I believe Triple was unkilled, and
He
so
did
that's
not
got to
die.
sting a little
Triple
bit
was huge.
to Takeover, who was in his own right trying to make miracle plays for TSM Academy near the end. We'll see if those miracle plays can turn out for TSM themselves, though, as game number 2 is ready to go. So, Magical, Cubby, let's have some fun.
Once more, we will deep dive into Champion Select and see how this is going to go. We get the Tilly and Poppy bans. First 2 bans that we saw last time as they swap sides. Not too surprising. But I do want to see how they change, how they adapt to the jungle role. Because we saw how much priority they put on it. Also, with the fact Wukong is high priority for both sides, I almost would like to see CLG ban that as their final ban.
We have a side swap, so we'll see if that ends up being the first pick for TSM. I think CLG paying respect to Tactical's Kalista is a good call. Tactical has always been known for his Kalista play. As speaking of some respect being paid, no Aphelios for Meech, rightfully so. Meech on the Aphelios this split, it's been really good for him. As Meech, I believe his Aphelios is now 2-1 across his games played. And the 2 wins he's had has been big time carry performances out of Meech.
So, Lucian was the final ban from CLG, not Wukong.
Yeah.
I'm expecting Wukong to be the first pick just because how much priority each of these squads has on that champion, how well TSM seem to be able to do, because Anda gets that control early, but then the team fights are a lot more reliable. He doesn't have to necessarily worry about the rest of the team, but of course, on the other side, we expected Kevy to go to Viego because that is his fallback.
It's a good matchup for Viego just because you have a little bit quicker clear time and you can skirmish with Wukong very early on. Once he gets under, you can kind of match the spike, but he's always going to win that spike as, oh boy, we might be in for a treat this game, Mad Magical. It is Takeover's Silas being busted out. And this guy's Silas is such a treat to watch, guys. You've seen it on the LCS stage. It's one of the best Silas that we have in Academy. Shout outs to Jimmy and now Leader. Also a very nasty Silas player that we have in the league.
But it's Takeover's Silas.
Takeovers is really good.
This is one of his best performing champions just in his entire career of Academy. And seeing him play this, where you look at what he can steal already, just the Gnar, alone the Gnar is such a great champion to be able to steal away that ult from, that makes it work so well. And I'm going to look at Takeover to see how he can set up a lot of these fights with Anda.
Yeah, of course, the fun of Silas's ult is that if you take an ult that has AD scaling, you turn it into AP scaling. That's very nice for Gnar's ult. It hits really hard. As it is a pick that you can play it in isolation. We have seen a couple of our top laners busted out. Shouts to Bradley and Surdy. But this one will be going mid to Takeover. Again, always a treat seeing Takeover bust out his Silas. Will be his 3rd Silas game of the split as marksman bans are aplenty.
Cubby?
Yes?
What if we don't see Senna banned and we see Tactical take it?
Oh, you thinking Sejuani flex or
That's
Wukong
what I'm thinking.
flex? Maybe?
I'm thinking more the Sejuani flex. I'm thinking more the Sejuani flex. Wukong could be flex. I mean, that was one of the funnest spicy picks back when we really started seeing Senna come back up into the meta.
Yeah.
Was with Wukong. But dependent on what CLG grab for themselves, since we're seeing so much bot lane focus again, Zeri gone.
That's Ezreal, yeah.
Ezreal Karma still is open.
Yeah, I mean, I see 3 melees. I see no Ezreal ban. I think that's an easy call for Meech. And now we'll see what Tactical can put on top of it. I will say Kai'Sa with 3 melee champions on the top side, you can dive onto Ezreal. I would like this for Tactical if that ends up being the move.
I kind of like it too, because if you look at what they already have, lots to dive. It's what I call the submarine comp, when you have a Kai'Sa on your team with everyone else who wants to dive deep into the back lane.
Come on,
you just go, awooga, awooga.
You got to know the traditional sub comp, though, which was, of course, Twitch Shen.
Oh, yeah.
The OG Shembarine, as we like to call it.
That was fun. That was a fun time.
Always, it still was a fun time at Magical.
You could do it with Evelyn, too, back when she had, like, the permastealth. It was always a lot of fun to see that, but not going to see that here. Looking at what they grab for Tactical, they go back to the Jinx, but I'm not as for it as I was the Kai'Sa.
Yeah, I would have been a big fan of the Kai'Sa as well. The good part for Tactical is that he's not nearly as outranged this game as he was last game. Again, playing Jinx into GP, into Corki with, no time catch, no help is a very tough ask. But Breezy, this should be a Braum. Braum into all these melee picks and into Nautilus as well is very high value. You already have primary engage elsewhere, so Braum can just follow up. Really like this lock-in and the use of 5 pick here for CLG.
But see, what I like a lot about TSM's comp is similar to that Braum, how it functions because they have Sejuani. Look at how many melees they have on their team. That's a lot to be able to set up the passive, well, not passive, the W and the E from the permafrost out of solo. And so I kind of like this. It's the 2 sides that have very similar ways to be able to get it. One just happens to be a little bit longer, being that of Breezy.
I like how Breezy is playing Leona than Braum these 2 games. Might be pandering to me, I must say.
Well, okay. I mean, I'll also say with this patch, it seems like I've been watching a lot more of the Champions queue. And
more engagers.
We're seeing more engagers. We're not seeing as many enchanters as we had previously.
I think part of that is that mid-meta has gotten a lot faster, and engaged supports can help snowball mid-meta a little bit more. But yeah, back when in Season 10, I peaked GM. I was 2-tricking Leona and Braum. Fun fact, I actually queued up.
Okay, when you say back when I played, I was expecting like
Hold on.
2015.
No. See, let me wrap this one up. I actually earned the right to play against Tactical and Core JJ 2 games in a row back in Season 10, and got baptized, and that's when I started casting. So, good times.
See, I didn't get that, and I'm still here.
Yeah.
Still here. But you know what? Enough about us rambling about times foregone, all in the past, even though one was 2 years ago and mine was many years ago. We get into this game. TSM Academy, CLG Academy. It's a lot of melee on one side and a lot of disengage, re-engage on the other side with a little bit of poke. Added in from Meech, who popped off in the last game.
Something I really want to see from TSM, I know we've had a lot of junglers pathing top to bot. I think it's a good game for Anda to go towards the top side, as I really like when our teams utilize the early strength of Sejuani as well. If you have a melee jungler, she's really good at helping you snowball. You can stack up those permafrost stacks so quickly, get kills, force sums out of the top lane. Rinse and repeat ganks become very easy with the Sejuani lane as well, as you could put Jenkins behind again. I think that's something where TSM could consistently try and find an advantage for not just the Sejuani, but the most important part is the Wukong. If you funnel kills into Wukong, you get Anda ahead, he can then shift power into the rest of the map. Curious that ends up being the early plan here for the side of TSM.
As am I. I mean, we saw last game, they were able to get some pretty good early advantages. This was about how they played in the mid game. That was the struggle for them. And when I look at Anda on Wukong especially, kind of talked about how Kevy should have a bit of advantage earlier into the game, just being on the Viego versus Wukong. But honestly, Anda, he's usually an incredibly intelligent jungler. And I don't think he's ever going to try to really match against Kevy. He's just going to look for cross-map plays.
Like this from TSM's bot lane stepping up. Not going to find any harass onto Meech, but they do know now where the CLG junglers started, as it will be mirrored clears this time around. Both junglers starting off on the blue buff, working their way back towards the map. We'll see if it's a reverse clear from either of them, but it looks like they're going to take their respective blue sides full to start off.
Passing ships in the night. Not expecting too much out of them. The fact that Kevy is closer to the top side of the map, I'm more curious about because this bot lane is where I'm seeing a lot of that skirmish come out. You have a Braum with Ezreal. You can get a lot of those concussive blows stacked up if you bring Viego with you.
A couple nice moments from that bot lane. First off, Mia takes the dredge line so that he was actually in the brush. Breezy was not. That means that you cannot land an auto and proc Winter's Bite, the passive on, or I should say, concussive blows, the passive on Braum. Yeah. Another one, Meech landing the Mystic Shot onto the Ezreal. Very nice for Meech. His Ezreal is fantastic. Seeing him use that to connect with Tactical in some of the early parts of the laning phase, very good. As CLG's bot lane embracing the weak side identity, playing this Ezreal Braum and playing it out nicely.
Oh, it does give that time that I was talking about for Anda, as he's fully cleared out his jungle outside of those Raptors that had been spotted out by a ward.
Yeah.
Still, he's got information. He's got the plays. They're already sending Mia up towards this mid lane, just in case Kevy's nearby. And since he was hovering around, it could have been a little bit dicey.
Nice moments from both of our teams here, as Mia trying to make an optimistic look mid, given the fact they did crash, and then Tactical also taking that base to get a Cole. As CLG, Kevy, did wrap up his clear on this side of the map. But you can see Solo playing under his turret, knowing that Kevy might be looking for an angle. And it looks like Kevy actually not going to take his first Krug camp. Will rotate over and try and sneak in to land a lane gank onto Solo.
Solo is just kind of pushing around. Jenkins has that level advantage.
Boy,
Arctic Assault got a lot of damage. Should be able to actually get out of there if he wanted to, but he tried to go back for the fight, and that's going to be his death sentence. Getting damage onto Kevy, the minions helping out for that stab of the Blade of the Rune King.
Yeah, you can see they were trying to give it to the jungler, and I mean, once Solo dashes in, he's dead. Jungler's up there, no ghost, no flash, he has Ignite, so he's going down. Really good pathing from Kevy as CLG punished Solo, being aggressive, trying to get that wave in.
I think that, honestly, I think he could have even gotten out with the dash in.
I don't think so.
You always gotta respect the passive magic resist you get. That's right now. Weak side, playing well for the side of CLG. Completely getting out of that one as expected.
And the nice part about Braum into Nautilus is you can really absorb the engage in Nautilus, trade out the health bars rather evenly. As Kevy has snuck in. Breezy's playing very far up considering where his health bar is at. So he will have to be careful, but does ensure that this wave will be contested and not be shoved one way.
I like that from Kevy. We're seeing pretty much the reverse of what we saw last game. Last game, it was all Anda. He got the early control right out of the gate, was able to put a lot of pressure onto Kevy. Kevy, in the same shoes that he had been put in, where it was the Viego he had to face off against. He's got the Viego to control Anda.
Yeah, it's not quite the same lead as Anda was up in the face of the Wukong in this matchup when he was piloting the Viego. And you can see Anda actually, now he's going to sneak in this Raptor camp as Kevy is now rotated over. Again, Kevy showing bot. Anda's so intelligent with how he knows that he isn't able to get to the Raptors in time if Kevy's going to go take his 2 camps. So Anda just takes them away from him right under his nose, and Anda's ahead again in this jungle matchup.
And Kevy realizing that, sees one lone chicken left for him. Only one chicken nugget is available for himself. He bought all the chicken nuggets too, which is even more tragic.
I know, it feels bad, man. As Jenkins knows that he can't jump in, given that Anda just showed on the top side of the map. But again, some nice moments coming out from Anda. He, in my opinion, has won the early game of both sides of this jungle matchup. That is Viego favored very early on. Good stuff from our new jungler here in Academy, as Anda's looking good.
Well, new jungler this year.
Yeah, this split.
Yeah.
See if we can do anything with it, though, as I still have some concerns for TSM. Top side, this gets very Gnar favored as time goes on, and now bot side, nice flash.
Hey, this is the thing. Kevy, he still has got control. Mia will survive, but the flash is blown, and they're forced out of lane.
Bit of trade to summoner spells, but I like how Kevy, again, flashing over the choppers, trying to make that play connect. This will grant CLG enough priority if they would choose to take the dragon here. But Kevy actually is going to hit recall. So no dragon for the side of CLG. Can't yet quite get our Sherlock Holmes to guess which soul it's going to be, because we've got to take dragon.
Yeah. That's right. I was about to say, you want me to guess now?
No, we give you, you get to see the next dragon. So we're going to give you a 1 out of 3 chance, and then 3 games to guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good. We'll see how well I do. I'm probably going to do terrible and not get a single one. That's usually how it works.
That's the fun.
It is the fun. It is fun for you. But speaking of fun, right now, game's been pretty tame. There have been attempts from CLG. Same with TSM. Looking for some of these plays. Try to see if they can play a little bit around the bot side of the map since Kevy is nearby again.
Oh,
Will be able to blast going over.
No flash.
Oh, Mia now in trouble.
Oh, nice
Dashes
sidestep.
away. He's able to sidestep Spider-Man back toward Tribush, but now with the chopper down.
Oh,
they
Anda.
engage Anda. He's right place, right time. So many times while they lose Mia, they take down Kevy. They could look with an
Tactical
excited Jinx to
6.
go for more, but they don't. They got what they came for.
Really good play from Anda there to answer. Only a 1-for-1 trade now for the side of CLG instead of being a positive play. I like the fact looking for the punish on the member of TSM that is missing flashes. Triple not able to get the Sand Soldier there to
So
stop
close.
the base. But this does mean Dragon was not able to be taken before Rift Herald spawned. Now we're going to see both teams shift their priority up towards the Rift Herald. You can see Mia only level 4, but still making his way towards the top side, as Jenkins will have to cede the blue buff he was going for. Tactical is walking bot. We'll stop the base for Breezy. That actually helps a lot. They can start Rift Herald off that.
It does. And look at right now. They're already setting down solo. Make sure that he can play defensively.
I think it's
They're getting
gone.
some wards behind. It should be gone. Look at where Triple is. Look at where Breezy are. They're
Yeah.
both not going to be anywhere close to be able to contest this.
Really nice rotation from TSM. Props to Tactical firing off that rocket 2 to stop the base. That's important as it prevented any counterplay for CLG. And they get this Rift Herald for free, Mad Magical. They lose nothing across the map. It was a full reset for CLG. So it's not like they can answer with plates, answer with taking the bot side jungle of TSM, some of the normal responses that we see from teams that drop Rift Herald. It is just a free Rift for TSM Academy. Very well played across the map from them.
This early game looking good for TSM, but it's always about how they can transition from here to the mid game. That's been their biggest struggle.
It hurt them in the last game. We can look for upgrades this time around.
Hey, it hurt them yesterday too.
Yeah, big part of that loss against C9. Again, one of the stronger teams we have. Tough schedule this week for TSM, as they're looking to snag one win this week. They are sitting 0-3 in their final game, and standings matter. And I think with that loss, Mad Magical, that took TSM out of contention for top 6. We did not really talk about that, as it was a very long shot scenario, and it wasn't yet week 7. But TSM will be bottom 4 with our academy teams, guaranteed to play a do or die best of 3 against an amateur team. Still good opportunities to climb up in seeding.
Technically, it doesn't take them out of top 6.
It's going to be tough. This loss would.
It's pretty much relying on a lot of miracles and things out of their control.
Yeah. Been a tough split for TSM, but I will say I think this roster, it should be stronger, and still has some of those young players we're looking to develop, especially with Takeover, and you know, Mia as well, trying to adapt to NA. I think Mia has been all right this split. See if Mia can continue that play as TSM get a little bit quieter in the game right now.
Just a little bit quieter, as we have a Rift Herald in the inventory of Anda. Looking for a good place to put it right now, because every one of the lanes is getting pushed back pretty difficultly by Jenkins, by Triple. Go to the bot lane, Meech and Breezy. No longer just that passive, safe bot lane. They actually got a little bit of control back against Tactical and Mia.
I think it is worth saying that for the solo laners at TSM, Gnar, Azir, the most played for both Jenkins and Triple. It's been comfort for the side of CLG. They've been running this comp a lot, as it's a lot of displacement. Can enable them to really throw the carries back into their team. And it's been consistent performances from these guys, as not surprised they're up in lane. Jenkins, honestly, only being up 15 CS after giving that first blood is honestly props to Solo on keeping it that close, quite frankly, as this is a lane that can get out of control in favor of the Gnar.
And so far, it's doing a good job getting a sizable lead, having that early visit from Kevy that worked out so successfully. But I always look at this, I'm like, how do you then translate that elsewhere? You've got 2 kills on Kevy with a bot lane play. You've got Mia. You didn't really take out Tactical, and Tactical's not nearly as far behind as he was last game.
And isn't outranged like he was last game. That's the big thing for me, as we will see if CLG can attack. One thing I will say, TSM not really playing toward that top side with Sejuani. You kind of become a worse... Well, you don't need to, but you kind of lose out on the strength of Sejuani in the earlier stages, being able to set up ganks top. So you kind of become just a worse version of Ornn now as the game goes on. I think Sejuani is really good if you snowball junglers ahead. Level 9 is one of the stronger spots in the lane for Sejuani. Still has solo kill potential, but Jenkins playing around rather nicely, as shouldn't be any worry in the world for CLG, and they can just keep on scaling up. You have Ezreal poke. As this game goes on, it's going to be very hard for TSM to play against.
It is. It's going to be difficult, but that's, I think, why we didn't see any dives attempted from TSM in the spot lane, despite having Anda hanging out around this bottom quadrant of the map for some time. They didn't have level 6 on Mia for a while. Now that he's level 6, that depth charge, the guaranteed knockup that you can get onto Meech, whether he escapes it or not, doesn't matter. He's going to have to get a long distance away for it not to really have that much of an impact onto him.
TSM looking for a power play bot. They have Shelly. More plates in the Tactical. I like this. He's opted for the Kraken Slayer this game. Already procced the pull. Tactical is very nice to set up. And again, only thing that outranges him very badly is going to be that Ezreal. So it's not like you're eating Corki Rockets. You're not eating GP barrels, Cannon Barrage over the top. Those things are very difficult to deal with when it comes to playing Jinx. Tactical this game doesn't have to worry about all the tools that CLG had to deal with him last game.
Well, they do have a little bit better of a mid game and even a late game to work around a lot of these team fights. And again, TSM, they've been having Anda hang around this bottom quadrant. They are really pouring everything they can possibly do into the bucket of tactical.
I like it. I think it's a good game plan for the side of TSM. As again, Takeover, every wave that he shoved up just hovers and gets back, eats it all. Really good stuff from our young mid laner here, side of TSM Academy. Has been so good this split, despite TSM struggles on the board. Still looking for Takeover to have those big differences in the late games team fights as mages, but the laning's there. He's been very impressive.
What are your thoughts on Crown of the Shattered Queen on Azir?
So Crown's seen some buffs. I'm a fan of it this game, considering all the melees. And again, if Azir gets jumped on, if you survive as Azir, usually that's a good sign. We've been seeing a lot of defensive builds, like some Leandri's stacking with Demonic. Honestly, this game, I would not have minded that, but I think Triple views him as that it's a 4 melee comp. Shattered Queen's going to be very hard for TSM to take off of him, so he's always going to have it up in fights, and it's very valuable. So you can see Triple, as long as he sidesteps those zaps, he's good to go.
Very true. Doing a good job in his positioning, getting around everything, but now with the second dragon of the game spawning, this one's X. I'm going to go with the Mountain Soul. I'm going to go with the Mountain Soul.
Okay, here we go.
So let's see if that works out. It's now. It is taken. Hey, look at that! Big brain!
1-for-1 Sherlock. Oh my god. All right.
Well, last minute too. I'm like, wait, I gotta guess.
That's a good start. That's a hot start for Mad Matt. He can fail the next two, and it doesn't matter. He's still batting what we expect here off the odds. Good stuff. Big brain Mad Matt.
Speaking of batting off the odds, CLG are the ones going around this Rift Herald, getting a lot of advantages against TSM, who have to deal with the fact Tactical was chunked out pretty well beforehand. It's difficult to actually contest around this.
I gotta say, a Braum ult on Sylas, very slept on. It's a very powerful ult for Sylas. You can find engages, follow up. You can combo with Abscond Abduct. And for TSM, they force CLG to reset. They're now gonna have to answer the mid waves that have met. Braum ult is burned, as it was timing out for takeovers. That is no ult. And we'll see if CLG, that's enough for them to fight, but CLG, they seem keen to keep on scaling.
CLG can. They don't have Meganar on Jenkins there. Would have been risky for them to fight in that tight corridor. Plus, you know, you still have to worry about Sylas, even without Hijack, how powerful he can be in tight corridors with a Wukong on his team. It makes sense that CLG would concede that, give it over to Anda once more.
I do think this is one of the stronger points of the game for TSM. You have Sylas and Wukong sitting on 1 mythic each.
Yep.
Wukong level 9 with Divine Thunder is so oppressive, and really the center point as to why we've seen Wukong be the highest priority champion across the major 4 regions during this summer. As his ability to team fight his mid-game power spike is just so hard for teams to deal with. So CLG gonna put some respect on it there. We'll wait to scale. Ezreal, Azir do scale very, very nicely. And I think CLG, if this game does go super late, as long as they can control Jinx in fight, I like their team and their team fight as we move on. It's easier to execute, and Sejuani will fall off in the very later stages along with the Wukong. So we'll see if CLG really ends up taking this 25-30 minutes plus.
But do you favor the scaling of an Ezreal more than that of a Sylas and Jinx here this game, especially if you're getting a Jinx in a good position like you have so far?
Oh, yes. I am always going to favor Ezreal. As Ezreal, the range, the ability to set up objectives. that's going to be very important. Second Herald is used.
Okay,
Crazy.
but now the
Takeover.
Look at Ando, though. Ando was the one starting off the fight on the other side to make sure it's a 2-for-1 with the turret in their pockets as Jenkins shows up a little bit late. Here goes Takeover, trying to see if he can get a little bit on the back line of the Meech, but Meech is still alive. Triple has gone golden. Triple is huge. He's alive. A Takeover himself is golden too. Takeover was able to take down Triple. Flash in for killing spree out of Anda. TSM, they pull off the fight and only sacrifice tactical.
Takeover Silas is so nasty, man. Him and Anda, they sync up at their power spike, and they drive it home against CLG, who took the fight. Kevy wasn't able to get a reset, and from there, TSM just ran him.
That is incredible. How many stopwatches were burned by both sides. The fact that Meech survived for so long, yet still dies. Like, I'm looking at it first, because how he engages with Takeover, but then from there, it is all Takeover.
So at the moment, it is a 5v4. I like this from TSM. They do it as the turret goes down, and Kevy doesn't get a reset. So the ult from Anda, that decoy knocked Kevy up. That bought enough time for it to just be a 1-for-1 trade. From here, it's a 3v4. CLG are getting frisky. Meech is positioning really well, but a really nice flash from Tactical to reposition as watch how Takeover plays out the rest of it now. Goes on the triple, gets the full combo out, stopwatch, gets all of his cooldowns back, and then Anda steps up with Solo to eat the combo from Meech. They take him down, and Takeover goes back in, cleans it all up. This guy, Silas, is so good. Good to see him popping off with TSM, as that was the mid-game team fight and the spike that we were looking for when they drafted this composition.
And it, like you said, it is Silas on Takeover as well. He knows this champion so well compared to pretty much everyone else who's played it. And even though a lot of people have played it well, it always will be compared to Takeover and how well he can bide out time, get the combos like you were talking about each and every time.
Yeah. I mean, but the Silases that we have, like in Academy, we have Takeover, we have Copy, we have Jimmian, who I think is probably the best Silas out of all.
Really? I think Takeover
Bradley's is nasty too in the top lane. Surdy had a big Silas game. Silas has been a really big champion, as it's really been rising in priority. Talked about how mid's playing faster. Silas is a big part of that, and he's really reemerged in the meta. Takeover taking advantage of that as Dragon is up. CLG have no control. Really well played here so far by TSM. We'll see if CLG can make the uphill battle.
We're about to have another battle here. Jenkins has been focused away. He's still mini, but he is working on that rage. Should be able to get it by the time the Dragon is actually fought over by TSM.
They're walking in, but TSM are holding this choke. It's very dangerous for the side of CLG. They know that Anda can combo. Dragon was pulled, but not really started. The CLG are allowed to walk through that choke, and TSM are going to try and find a flank. Takeovers looking for Gnarl. Look out for him.
Yeah, he wants that. He wants to steal it from Jenkins, and you can see how he's positioning it to do so. Kevy keeps the aggro on that Dragon available for the team at the moment, but it's all about how this flank will work out for them. With the Scuttlecraft gone, CLG, they're in another tight corridor. They gotta be careful. With the Wukong engage, if they got that dredge line to connect, they probably would have gone full in and full ascended. But now, Kevy gets a little bit of damage on Solo. They engage. There's gonna be the Gnarl. That's the damage, but Takeover's killed by Meech first. They've got the raid boss, and now they can clean up the fight. Meech looking for more. They've got kills for days and a Dragon to boot.
And TSM, Solo took so much health early in the fight, he was never able to get involved in Takeover Anda. They were split because of the Emperor's Divide from Triple and the positioning from Meech as the carries from CLG step up in that fight and take the game back into their control, frankly, Mad Magical.
And again, we're seeing this mid-game. This is where it's always been the struggle bus for TSM Academy. At first, it looks like they have a good play that they can set up.
Solo eats the winner's bite and then the concussive blows. He's down to half, so Takeover's forced to respond, but no one else can get in. Jenkins just running interference. Anda can't get in because he's slammed up against the wall, and then the Emperor's Divide here from Triple. He's never able to reach the backline. Meech and Triple just get the free fire as Tactical couldn't get past the Dragon. Another fight where TSM, they go too deep, they take too much health early, and are torn to shreds by CLG.
We didn't get to see that wombo combo that we had previously with Anda and Takeover diving into the backline. Takeover couldn't even steal an ult in that fight. That's how far back he was. And now Solo looked like he's going to be the one soloed out here. With a lot of damage put back on top of him. He might be tanky. He's not going to survive the onslaught of damage unless Anda can save his life. Getting a little bit of damage back on the Jenkins. That could be a second one blown. But now that they got the resets out of Kevin, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. They have Mia on one side, but I don't think they want to re-engage.
CLG find another. This gold lead is even. We talked about the scaling on the side of CLG too. Mad Magical Meech working towards that Sorelda's Grudge. That'll be very tough for Tactical on the Jinx to deal with again, as he has to heal for himself. He has all the melees in front of him to do it, but that was a fight where it was really TSM going 2D. Tactical could only hit the front line, and he's just not big enough yet. He doesn't have the IE, doesn't have the LDR to get through him. We'll see if TSM and Tactical can step up in the later stages. As TSM, that mid-game spike, losing that fight hurt. Even game, and I think CLG get ahead as this game goes on. It's going to be tough for TSM to really drive home the engages, and I think how they play around this early Baron and this next Dragon will be very important for them if they want to have a chance to win this game and find a win here in Week 6.
Looking out for both those objectives, seeing how they can set up themselves. Despite having that fight not go their way, they're still even in gold. Despite, I mean, it means they lost their lead. But they're not down. They're not necessarily out either. They can set up some control like they're doing around the bottom quadrant of the map. You got 2:30 until the dragons will spawn. So having early control is nice, but you also make sure that you're not in a position where it can be an immediate turn for Baron out of CLG.
And the nice part for CLG with Ezreal is that it's so easy to get mid-priority with Ezreal or just answer waves. You have your ultimate, you can farm from 1k. If you step up, you can zone Jinx off, as at the moment. Nice attempt from Tactical, trying to take the blue buff away from Triple, and that's going to be all his. And on the side of CLG, I mean, this game, this week for CLG, I think it's really, for me, cemented them as being in the conversation for a top 4. They are a top 4 team, but also contesting the top 3 that we have in Academy. As CLG, they have a chance against C9 next week if they want to make sure they can find more wins against our top dogs. But, you know, taking out TSM 2-0 would be another sign for me. If they are able to do it in convincing fashion, they really are one of the best teams that we have as we get closer and closer to PG.
Especially shifting our attention to the bot lane. Meech and Breezy, they've been doing very well this game. Weak side bot lane, now out of it, 3 items have been built up for Meech. He's got half an item lead over Tactical. And as you talked about, you favored the Ezreal scaling as it gets more into the game and having a Braum on top of you to make sure there is little way you're going to lose Meech. I'm just curious what TSM can possibly do to deny Meech from just popping off in these fights.
Takeover, man. If Takeover's able to get that Gnarl, he did get on top of Meech in the last one, but no one was able to follow up. So I'm looking for Takeover and Anda to sync up. I think that's a big key here for TSM, is again, late in the season. They did make some roster changes. These Academy guys trying to make the best out of all the changes going on with that org, whatever they feel like is best for the LCS team. Gotta see if they can come together here in Academy, as are trying to put their best foot forward. And we've really yet to see TSM, like, I'd say outside of day 1, have a convincing day in Academy.
It's been back and forth battles, struggling after the early game, and we're seeing here, Solo tries to push out, gets spotted out, but here comes the TP, re-engaging onto Kevy. He's going to be able to get away a little bit of distance, but they got the Gnar ult into the wall.
That was early.
Who stole the Gnar ult? Take over once more. His silence is always on point.
And that's big. There's no spine on the map now for CLG, so TSM, they should just get this Dragon for free. Really good play from Takeover to TP in and turn that around with Solo.
Do you think they can turn it after that to control around the Baron immediately?
Nope, they're going to fix their waves. There's no look at Baron. Just going to fix waves. As still, really nice for TSM. They get a Dragon, they get a pick, they get some gold into their pockets. Well played, as they didn't invest too much to make that one happen for themselves. I will say, there are no TPs up for TSM at the moment, and CLG has 3. So I want to see if CLG really punish TSM in this window. TSM have to be very careful about when they cross river. If they cross that halfway point, CLG can throw multiple teleports to try and take out a member and have a power play into the Baron. So I think that was a really good answer from TSM. Take Smite off the board, get a Dragon for free, but CLG now have a window to answer back.
We only have 2 TPs now, as Meech had
Yeah.
TP'd mid lane to catch that wave, make sure it
That's
wasn't
the
going to
least
crash.
important.
It's the least important, exactly. The one we're really looking at, I have my eyes more on Jenkins, and when he has that timed up with the Rage Bar, when he's about to go Mega, TP in, flank that way, because that's usually when we see the most power, especially out of Jenkins.
Do have a bit of a break at the moment, so a couple big items coming in. First off, Infinity Edge 4 Tactical is massive.
Yes.
Also, next base, Takeover will have a death cap. Silas's AP ratios are not that bad, especially on the queue. So that's going to be feeling really good for Takeover, who does have that in base whenever he decides to go back. As, see if Mia's bit
Oh
off
no,
in collapse.
Mia, they try to re-engage.
Wait, Meech,
They're looking
did
to
he get
flash, but he's alive. Wait a minute. How do you survive? Anda does not get on top of Meech, and Solo, who is in the middle of 5 members, gets bounced around. Takeover seals the hole. He dives into the back line to take out Azir, but now they've got to fight back.
Nice top
they don't
log.
have the knowledge. He
Watch
does
tactical.
re-engage. They've got the damage, but now they jump away from Dig. They got
Tactical.
one now. They're trying to hit Mia. They're going to be able to take 1-for-1 in the moment, but CLG, you got to get out of here. You're low. The flash in from Anda does not take out Meech, but Tactical does. No, it's body blocked by Breezy. Shutdown going over. Tactical. This is your time. You're showing why you got to be looked at. You're showing why you deserve to get your spot back in the LCS.
And that fight for TSM, it was all about the melees just keeping CLG busy in the front half, and they didn't have the damage in the long fight. Triple went down too early. Meech had to dance around all the melees from TSM who were on top of them. TSM, it was a little bit later into the game, but they execute their team fight.
What a fight from TSM Academy here. Messy at first, but somehow, like you talked about, the fact that they find Triple and collapse afterwards, that's really what turns this fight completely around.
And also how they played around Meech. As Meech, he was forced to flash here and is really only able to hit the front line. He was never able to zone Tactical out, who was just free firing. His positioning was so good in this fight with the melees in front of him. As Takeover kept everyone busy, now it's a front to back. There's take down one target at a time. Take advantage of Tactical, his DPS having that IE, as there was never a point in that fight where Tactical was under threat. TSM played out the front line very well. Tactical position so he could just DPS at all times, and CLG never able to deal with them. Get ran in the fight.
Yep, they get ran, and then a Baron picked up afterwards by TSM. This puts them in the position to push back. They're the ones looking for the play, but a nice attempt from CLG to try to answer that. They've got a lot of damage on Anda, but still alive. They're bouncing around Jenkins. Trying to get into the back line. Look at Takeover, though. Takeover, he's got the stolen ult. He could go for the flank, but they're going to back off. They're going to forfeit this turret.
Yeah, I think CLG playing a little bit quick. I appreciate them looking for that play while TSM were trying to play out 2 lanes, but they weren't able to rotate to have numbers. TSM, they were the ones that got there first. So, a member taken down on the side of CLG. Triple forced out. TSM keep on pushing forward.
Ooh, that damage onto Braum, too. 2 turrets will fall, and with 2 members dead on CLG, this is TSM's time. They're knocking at the doors. They don't want another 0-4 week. They want to at least take 1 victory and 1 from a top 4 team.
At split 2, they can keep on pushing if they'd like, as Jenkins still has 10 seconds. Not going to try and force a Nexus turret. TSM will take the safe reset, make sure that they're on time for the Dragon. But man, the set of plays from TSM and really Takeover making his mark on this game. We hyped up his Silas, but it has been massive.
I told you, I think Takeover Silas is my favorite of all players in Academy. I know you're oofing on that.
I'm
but
Team Jimmy.
You're Team Jimmy, and I'm Team Takeover.
It's
Every
really
time
good.
I watch this guy play it is absolutely outstanding as Meech just gets caught out in the jungle. The rocket from downtown!
Meech lost the 50-50. I swear that's the first time I've seen him lose. I don't know if he has Arcane Shift up or not, but that was a great snipe from Solo as the Glacial Prison connects, and that could be it.
Oh, Tactical! Wait a minute, not the handshake again, but the TP behind them. This fight will ensue. Pinaro into the wall. It's Takeover, though. Where is he at? He dives into the back line. They're looking to see if he can get the damage on Kevin and on the Triple. They've got a lot on the Breezy. Jenkins is still alive underneath his own turret, but look, that Takeover. Takeover is dominating. Takeover is winning the fight while his team picks up the scraps.
I appreciate the attempt from Triple. I think taking Tactical out was necessary, but you didn't deal with Takeover, and Takeover dealt with the entirety of CLG as TSM take him down.
And I'm telling you, Cubby, Takeover Silas is my favorite. Getting this victory, a much-needed win. If they want to even have a hope and a prayer of getting out of the bottom 4 for Proving Grounds, this is their chance, and they strike back at a top 4 team.
Did you see that damage from Takeover, the Ezreal ult and the double Q? Holy cow. Adds a bonus one, goes legendary in the game. As Takeover Silas, this guy on the melees, that was what was so exciting about him in spring. Watching him play these melee champions, he is so naturally gifted at these champions. See him round out his mage pool a bit. It's still, it's gotten better, still work in progress, but God, whenever he plays one of these melees, we're just always reminded how damn good this guy is as he took over that game.
Lives up to his namesake, doesn't he? Especially on Silas.
I tried to avoid that one.
I know.
It really was what happened,
It's hard to, especially when he plays like that. It's props out to him and the rest of TSM Academy for evening up the score at 1 apiece. We're going to toss to a break. When we come back, we'll have Mazel here for a lovely interview. Make sure you stay tuned.
Welcome back to the Verizon post-game interview. I am with the bottom laner for TSM Academy, the ADC, TSM Academy Tactical, and my man, I finally get to talk to you. Feels like I've been waiting for it forever. We get to chat after a comeback victory in game number 2 of the series. How's it feel just to be able to pick up a win here in all actuality?
It feels pretty good after the second win because I felt like after yesterday's games and even after game 1 of today, we made a lot of improvements as a team. So I'm pretty happy about that. Like, if you were to have an inside scoop on our team, like I felt like we're just a completely different team. So I'm pretty happy that we made this progression and ended on a win.
I like it. And you were, going against a bit of a rising prospect in his own right in Meech. Do you have any thoughts about the competition in Academy and specifically Meech to start it off with?
So generally when I play, I don't really look at the names, but I thought his laning was fine. He was never giving like the free autos, stuff like that. It was pretty good. It looks like honestly, I was just so focused on myself in that game that like it's hard to tell for me.
Hey, I like the little 50-50 in the last game there too. I think it was a little bit fun. I do want to talk about your season so far a little bit tactical. Obviously a bit of an up and down situation for you, but I want to talk a little bit about that. Tell me a little bit about the story for you and how it's been, transitioning to Academy for you.
Yeah, so the beginning was hard for me just because like I was really stressed going into Academy at the first, pressured from everything in LCS. So it wasn't easy at first, but I got to chill, and now I'm feeling better about it. So I think as long as I can get rid of a lot of my bad habits and play the team game, I think we'll do really well. But so far, it's been fine.
Now, we were a little bit of off-air talk beforehand, and I asked you, do you like being in Academy? And I'm sorry, I just got to ask you that here because it was such an interesting response that you had. Are you having fun being a part of the Academy team? Are you having fun in Academy itself?
Yeah, I'm having a good time, actually. I think matches are really exciting. I think the way I look at it is like, it's not like, oh my god, I got demoted, I'm so doomed. It's like, sorry about that. It's like I get to recheck whether or not like my knowledge is right or if I'm still like a good player. So that's how I've been looking at it.
I like it. I think it's really important to have a competitor's mindset in those kinds of situations, especially. For you, though, I guess looking a little bit ahead, do you have any thoughts for the short rest of the season, at least one more week in Academy regular season and then on to PG?
I mean, I'll clean up everything, more mistakes, and try not to focus too much on my own game. And I think overall I'll look a lot better, and we'll improve a lot as a team as well going forward.
I like it. I want to give you one last little bit here, tactical. I haven't gotten to talk to you. Obviously, newer to the Academy scene here, at least this year. I want to give you a space, man. I want any tactical fans out there, anything you want to say to anybody that's looking at you as a prospective player or just as a fan?
I've seen various comments on me. So to the fans, I'm glad you're there for me. It makes me feel appreciated that I'm still like. It just makes me happy that there are people who are cheering for me. For the haters or whatever, I mean, they're all delusional. So it, yeah.
I love it, man. I love it. Thank you so much, Tactical. I do want to give you one last little bit. Do you have anybody you want to shout out? Anybody you want to talk about here before we let you go?
Let me think. Shout out to Mr. Xmitty, my coach, because it's been a pleasure working with him so far.
I love that. Ah, that's so nice. I've also been really interested in seeing how Alex Smithy's been doing, but good to hear some good things from your side of it. Thank you so much, Tactical. Appreciate you chatting with me, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Alrighty, I'm gonna go ahead and bring back my two duo. I guess my duo's lingo.